And it's so interesting that we're talking about this today because I had an influx of questions in my group and on email. Sara, I'm eating right. I'm doing everything. I'm at the gym. I've gained 20 pounds in the last couple of years. I've never had a weight problem. What is going on? And I'm doing all the right things. So I want to talk about just what is causing this like hang up with all of us, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you hear of it all the time. Well, if I
Yeah.
binge ate over the holidays, I used to do this, and this for the next 2 weeks, and I get right back on track, and those things aren't working anymore. So what is going on?
Exactly. It's funny that I actually just got off a call with a woman who said, I was bodybuilding, I was a triathlete, I did this and I did that. And it's just like you said, I hit that wall and nothing would work. And I think there's twofold. It's one, those who are very ambitious and have been always active and suddenly they hit the wall because all their bag of tricks is not the thing. And there's people who maybe didn't think they ever needed to do that and got away with looking and feeling the way they wanted to. And everybody ends up at the same spot. In menopause, the rules changed. So, one, there's two things to unpack in what you said. I think in the voice of a woman who's not getting results, it's one, when we say we're doing all the things, I think we really have to unpack, are you doing the things that really a woman in midlife with her hormones should be doing? Because we may be doing what we were taught and what we did in our 20s and 30s that worked. If those are the things, first we need to get schooled on there's a new way to do it with the hormones that are, this is your profile now, so that you can have greater success and feel good while you're doing it. So nobody's going to feel miserable while they're exercising and get to the other end feeling good. We should feel good doing. um so there's that. And I think, a lot of women here were raised by parents of the war era, and the you work hard and you get good results. And we just took that lesson a little too well. And I think we do. We try to push through. We try to push through. We do the discipline. When we get motivated, we willpower our way through. And we're potentially willpowering and disciplining our way to some adrenal issues that are going to be the roadblock to getting where you really want to go.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm so glad we're talking about
Yeah.
adrenals because it's even changed in the last 4 years for women in menopause with their adrenals because of this amazing thing that we talked about before we got on, the
Yeah.
spike protein.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to throw this in. So
Yeah.
this spike protein is around all of us. I don't care who you are, unless you are in an igloo in what is it?
And Antarctica. Yeah.
Antarctica. It's somewhere around nobody, right? I mean,
Right.
I work from home. I'm a homebody. I even send my kids to go doing the marketing. But I'm even exposed to the spike protein when you're around. And you don't have to be around someone that is actually actively sick with the virus. They could just be shedding upon you. And there is science and proof of this. But what is happening is it's causing a disruption in the liver. But what we're also seeing is that the adrenals are becoming more depleted at an excessively fast rate,
Mm.
much faster than 5 years ago. So if you were a woman in menopause 5 years ago, you would have had better adrenal health than today. And that is why personally, I take an adrenal glandular called adrenaline every single day to support my adrenals. Now, that all being said, we are super women. And I actually had
Mm.
someone tell me the other day, Sara, I don't know how you do it. You have dinner on the table every night, you work out, you own your own business, you have 3 kids, you keep them all stable, and you're married and you've got to keep up a marriage and all of this stuff. I'm like, yeah, you're right. How do I do it? But us women wear all of these hats.
Right.
And we're not meant to just go, go, go. We have to support our body, our battery packs, our adrenals. So it will backfire.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think then one of the lessons that we also got taught, I remember distinctly, I can see where I was sitting in the classroom and I can see the lecturer at that time, energy creates energy. And every physiology major who got taught that, every wannabe fitness instructor, goes out and spews this to people. And we've written it and you've read it. Energy creates energy. And so you're thinking I should push through and I need to exercise if I don't have any energy. And the truth is, sometimes we just need to rest. When we don't have the energy, we really do need to listen to our bodies and trust it again. And as women, right, pre COVID, even, we needed to make sure we were paying attention to the signs and the signals and resting when we needed to rest. Never has that been more important than when a woman hits perimenopause, because that roller coaster going up and down means you are more likely to experience some lulls and highs and lows, but trending downward. And then when you really hit menopause, your hormones are bottoming out unless you're already replacing, by the way. So don't want to forget those of you who are being proactive and doing something about it. But for any of us choosing never to do that, it's important that you tune into the fact that pushing through is not great for our adrenals. And we have to look at exercise as also stress. So, though we want to do calculated stress and put ourselves in calculated positions, people are talking about cold plunges now or talking about sauna use more than we ever have. Great, both cases potentially for the right person at the right time, and yet there's stress. So lots of things we're imposing on purpose can be good for you in really small doses. But when life stressors are really up high or your hormonal stressors are really up high, that's when you got to pull back on the things that you can control and say, okay, maybe exercise today needs to be on the lighter side in order to balance that, because optimal levels of stress and resilience make you fit.
So what we need to remember is our ancestors would run to get their kill,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
They didn't run for a marathon. They
Mhm.
ran to get their kill and then they rested
Mhm.
and they restored.
Mhm.
Just personally, I'm very in tune with my body, and your adrenals sit on top of your kidneys. So when your adrenals are overworked, your kidneys have to inflame and retain water to hold up the adrenals. So here I am overworking myself,
Mm.
retaining a ton of water because my
Mm.
kidneys aren't releasing it. So that is a survival mechanism. We have to think that our brains want to keep us alive, right? So if we are totally stressed out from family, aging parents, we're sandwiched into the kids, the adult kids. I
Right.
always say little kids, little problems, big kids, big problems, right? And then you've got your parents. And so we've got all of this stuff going on in our lives. And then we say, I'm so tired, but I got to go work out. Well, that extra layer of stress is ramping up that cortisol. Cortisol is not, your body doesn't know if you're being chased by a tiger
Mhm.
or if you are just working out too hard. And so it's going to put this nice layer of fat around your expensive organs that it wants to keep safe: the liver, the kidneys, the belly, the gut. And so that extra layer is cortisol fat, right?
Mhm.
And
So
so
true.
here we are midlife. We're trying to work out like we did in our 20s and 30s. And we're just getting fatter and we don't know why. And then we lower our caloric intake, right? Because that's what you do. You
Right.
lower your caloric intake, you increase the exercise, just like the doctor says.
Yep.
And that's just an additional stress. And what's interesting about Deborah, over the last month or so, I was suffering from a little nausea. My it was keeping me from eating as much as I needed to eat. I did my liver flush, the nausea went away, great. And my metabolism went up. Well, then I tried to increase my caloric intake to help with putting some weight back on. But was so interesting is my body said, "Oh, I'm getting tons of calories now. I'll actually rev up my metabolism
Mhm.
because your brain is smart, right? So if you're going
Mhm.
to lower the calories, your body's going to lower your metabolic rate,
Yeah.
going to increase that reverse T3, the stress hormones, pack on the pounds, lower the metabolic rate, and you're just digging yourself into a hole. And then
Yeah.
you feel bad.
Yeah, right, and you have no energy really to use toward exercise. It still feels hard, but if you track yourself over time, you will find you're probably not going as fast or on as high an incline at a same heart rate. Your perceived exertion is greater, but it feeling hard and it actually being a great performance, you actually getting the work done that you're capable of doing, are two different things. I think we see that a lot in women who are maybe trying to exercise in a fasted state where they're already in adrenal fatigue as well. None of that really bears well on you. We want to have the energy, but I think the gold statement that you made is if you eat less, you're messaging and signaling your body to burn less. You eat more, you're signaling your body to burn more. And that is for some reason not intuitive to us. Right.
Right. And it brings up the hot topic of intermittent fasting
Yeah.
because that is a hormetic stressor. But if your body is already stressed, that's just
Yeah.
maybe a little too much.
Yeah.
And is it good to intermittent fast to lower insulin resistance for a short period of time or intermittently? Sure, if you're in a
Mhm.
good spot, but don't do it long term. Don't get
Mhm.
down to one meal a day every single day because guess what your body's going to do? Oh,
Mhm.
she's only going to feed me one time a day. I'm going to lower down my metabolic rate,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, store it, save it for a rainy day, and doesn't trust, that you're actually going to feed it. And I think, we can unpack this a little bit more if you want to. And I am not anti intermittent fasting. And
No,
so I don't want to come off that way. I think it's got a time and a place. I like to make sure any woman that I'm working with has a good relationship with food in the first place, because the mistake that I see women make is the intermittent fasting, first of all, gets to be I do the same thing every day, and that's my routine. So we need a little bit more metabolic flexibility. But also, then in the feeding window, you're still restricting. And that's counterproductive to the whole idea of it's just about shortening the window. We still need to eat well and fuel ourselves.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
just becoming more in tune with your body. What
Yeah.
is your body asking for? If you wake up and you're tired, see, every morning I work out, but what does that mean? That means I put on my running shoes and I might go hard on the rowing machine and lift some heavy weights, or I might just put the two leashes on my two dogs and go for a walk.
Mm.
But I put on the shoes because that is my hour to take some time for me,
Mhm.
away from the husband and the kids and the business and everything else. But it is, okay, what is my body asking for? Did I get enough sleep last night? Where's my
Mhm.
stress level? Where are my hormones? Because I want to talk about hormones and how they are going to affect your results working out and
Yeah.
exercising. I mean,
Yeah.
if you don't have the right hormonal balance, you're never going to get to where you want to go. Just like if you don't have the right hormonal balance, the food isn't going to give you the body composition changes. I think people, especially women, don't look to the hormones and their profile of hormonal balance enough when it comes to results.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the cortisol is either we've been using it, pumping out way too much, or maybe we've gotten to a point where we're low on cortisol. Whether it's high or it's low, that's an imbalance really compared to how it should be. So it's often measured at four different times during the course of the day. It should be high when we wake up. It should be naturally, if you didn't have to wake to an alarm, it would be cortisol that's waking us up. And then it begins to come down over the course of the day, and at 2 a.m., it should be the lowest of all day, right? So if you're high when you should be low or low when you should be high, either of those is problematic. You don't feel really good. But cortisol is a catabolic hormone, meaning it's breaking down muscle. So if that's what's going on, especially if you're in a situation where you're highly stressed, and that could be again fatigue and or just really wired, and you're craving and you're reaching for things that are not ideal, not optimal, and you're also elevating your insulin levels. That cortisol and insulin together relocate fat cells to the belly. They deposit more belly fat. They grow baby fat cells into big fat cells. They do all kinds of things that we don't want them to do. And meanwhile, you're in fat storage mode, and we can't both be in fat storage and fat burning. So your body will choose preservation, and it's impossible to gain muscle in that situation. So we really need to turn it around, and it's not like I'll push through. You can't. You have to remove the obstacle first. So we call it restore before more at Flipping 50. And I shared this with my coaching group this morning, and I said, I'm just going to share a lesson with you. I've been doing this. I treasure and highly value regular strength training, but for some reason my body is just really crying out not to this week. It's been, going for a walk sounds much better. The weather's been great. Maybe it's just more conducive, but something has just intuitively been telling me, don't go lift hard right now. Just, do a little bit more walking, and not only take the dog for a walk, but go for a walk by yourself later at your own pace. And so I've been leaning into that. And it's just I'm feeling better, but like you said, that water retention, where'd that come from? And I'm feeling like that's no longer with me, right? And it's just you've got to listen to what's going on. And so we can trigger optimal things like growth hormone and testosterone so that we can gain lean muscle. But you've got to remove the cortisol and the adrenal issues from being issues first. So,
Right.
first things first,